The rain came down in sheets, soaking the city in a bleak gray curtain. Elara huddled beneath a rusted awning, her worn hoodie clinging to her frame. Her fingers, red from the cold, clenched a plastic bag with leftover bakery bread. She didn't notice the black sedan screech to a halt across the street until the door flung open. A man stumbled out. Tall, elegant suit, face streaked with rain and blood. He held a shattered phone, blinking at the empty street. No taxis. No umbrellas stopped. He looked like a ghost, lost, stunned. Elara's instincts fired. She stepped out, ignoring the icy water that soaked her shoes. "Hey!" she shouted over the storm. "Are you all right?" The man looked at her, startled. I think I was attacked. My driver's gone. My phone's dead." She nodded, trembling. "You need help. My place is close. It's not much, but it's dry." He hesitated. Then slowly, he took her hand. Elara led him through back alleys and broken fences, avoiding the main road. Her neighborhood was barely lit, crumbling apartments with cracked windows and trash-strewn sidewalks. She glanced back to make sure he was still following. He walked stiffly, silently, his white shirt clinging to his chest. When they reached her building, she fumbled with the rusted lock and pushed open the creaking door. "This is it," she said. "Home sweet survival." The hallway smelled of mold and boiled cabbage. She led him up 2 flights of stairs and into her studio. Bare mattress, 1 lamp, a kettle, and 2 chairs. He looked around, stunned. "I know," Elara said quietly. "It's nothing." He turned slowly, voice cracking. "It's more than I had 5 minutes ago." Elara handed him a dry towel and poured hot water into 2 chipped mugs. The man sat stiffly, wincing as he pressed the towel to his head. She noticed his hands, calloused but trembling. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Just can't remember what happened after the car stopped." "You were attacked?" "I think. Everything's blurry." They sat in silence for a moment, the sound of the storm muffled behind cracked windows. "I'm Elara," she said. He hesitated, then finally replied, "Leo." "Leah," she echoed. No last name. He met her eyes. "I don't think I should say." Elara didn't press. She knew what fear looked like. And this man, who looked like he belonged in penthouses, was terrified. Elara lit a second candle when the lamp flickered again. "Power goes in and out. This building's older than me." Leo nodded, staring out the window at the pounding rain. "I never thought I'd be here. Not like this. You don't strike me as someone used to rough nights." "I'm not," he admitted. "I own companies, fly private, or did." His voice cracked. "I think someone tried to kill me." Elara stared. "What?" He leaned forward, whispering, "My driver vanished. No security, no signal. My accounts frozen." A shiver went down her spine. "I'm not crazy," Leo said. "But someone wants me gone." And for the first time, Elara realized she might have just pulled a very dangerous man into her home. Elara handed him a dry shirt, her late father's old flannel. It hung off Leo's shoulders, but was warmer than his drenched suit. She wrapped herself in a threadbare blanket. He looked at her. "Why did you help me?" She shrugged. "Because no one else did." Silence. "You live like this every day?" he asked. "Yeah," she said. "But I don't complain. There's people who have it worse." Leo looked away, ashamed. "You're not the first person I've seen bleeding on the street," Elara added. "But maybe the first who noticed me back." He nodded. "You may have just saved my life." Her eyes softened. "And maybe you're meant to do something with it now." Outside, the thunder rolled. But inside, something shifted. As dawn crept in through dirty windows, Leo stirred from the corner of the mattress. Elara was already up, tying her shoes for work. Her bakery uniform was faded, but clean. "You're heading out?" he asked groggily. "Can't miss a shift," she said. "Rent waits for no one." Leo sat up. "What if you didn't have to?" She paused. "What?" He hesitated. "Nothing, just be careful." She smiled faintly. "I always am." As she left, Leo stood alone in her apartment. The silence was deafening. He picked up the kettle, poured himself water. Then he noticed the wall, covered in drawings, old notes, and a dream board. One word in bold letters: "Open my own bakery." He touched the paper gently. "Elara," he whispered, like a vow. Elara pushed open the bakery's back door and stepped into the warmth. The scent of cinnamon and yeast greeted her, comforting but heavy. Her manager, Marta, barely looked up. "You're late," she barked. "Sorry. Trouble at home," Elara murmured, slipping on her apron. "You're always in trouble," Marta said, voice sharp. "Keep it up and you'll lose this job." Elara bit her tongue and turned toward the prep table, working in silence. Kneading dough, wiping trays, sweeping flour, all automatic. But her mind was still on Leo. Who was he, really? Why was someone trying to erase him? During her break, she checked her phone. No messages. No missed calls. A sinking feeling gnawed at her gut. She didn't even know his full name. What if he disappeared? She stared out the window. Storm had passed, but something darker was coming. Back at the apartment, Leo stood at the small kitchen counter, examining Elara's shelves. Just a few cans. Rice. Tea. Well, no fresh food. The refrigerator hummed like it was on its last breath. He opened a drawer and found a stack of utility bills, overdue, some final notice red stamps on top. He exhaled slowly. Leo turned, eyes scanning the room again. Her world was small, worn, but full of grit. He spotted a framed photo, Elara as a child, smiling beside an older woman with kind eyes. A single word scribbled on the back: "Mama." He sat down, picked up Elara's dream board again. Sketches of a bakery storefront, names like Sunrise Loaf and Hope Bread Company. Leo whispered, "She saved me without knowing who I was. No one's done that before." A knock at the door made him freeze. 3 slow knocks. Deliberate. He didn't move. Then silence. That night, Elara returned home to find the lights off. Her heart jumped. "Leo?" He emerged from the shadows, calm but tense. "Someone knocked earlier. Didn't say a word." She shut the door quickly and turned the lock. "What did they look like?" "I didn't look. I didn't answer." Elara sank onto the mattress. "You shouldn't have stayed here. If someone's after you." Leo sat beside her. "I'll leave if you want me to." She looked at him, voice soft. "That's not what I said." He nodded. "Then I need to tell you something. My full name is Leonardo Vance, CEO of Vancitech." Elara stared. "You mean the—" "Yes, that Vance." She covered her mouth. "But why would you be here?" He lowered his voice. "Because someone inside my company tried to have me killed." The weight of his words settled like fog. Elara paced the room, trying to process what she'd heard. "That company's everywhere. You're on magazine covers. How could this even happen?" Leo leaned forward. "Power attracts betrayal. My CFO was pushing a hostile acquisition behind my back. I confronted him. That's when everything spiraled." He rubbed his temples. "My driver's missing. My penthouse was cleared out. My accounts locked." Elara paused. "And the police?" "I can't trust anyone. The CFO has connections. I'm safer as a nobody right now." Elara took a deep breath, then crossed the room. She opened a drawer and pulled out an old flip phone. "Use this. It's not smart, but it works." Leo blinked. "Why do you have that?" "My mom kept it for emergencies. I never threw it away." He smiled faintly. "You really are the most prepared poor girl I've ever met." She smirked. And don't you forget it. Later, Leo stood at the window, phone in hand, debating who to call. There was one person, Ava, his childhood friend turned lawyer. But could he trust her? Elara watched him, quiet. You're scared, she said. He didn't deny it. She stepped beside him. If you were anyone else, I'd say run. But if you are who you say you are, you have to fight. Leo glanced at her. Even if it puts you in danger? She smiled. I've been in danger since I was born. This is just new. He laughed softly. It was the first time she'd heard it. I'll call her, he finally said. If anyone's clean, it's Ava. He dialed, breath held. On the third ring, a calm voice answered. Leo? Where the hell have you been? Relief flooded him. But it was short-lived. Then Ava added, You're not safe. They know you're alive. Leo hung up slowly. She said, I have 48 hours. After that, they'll stop hiding what they did. Elara's throat tightened. What do? We move. I need to get to Ava. She has files that can prove everything. But I can't go alone. You want me to come with you? You're the only person I trust. Elara didn't hesitate. Then we'll go tonight. She packed quickly. A few clothes, her dream board folded carefully into a bag. Leo grabbed the phone, the photo of her mother, and the bread she'd saved for breakfast. As they stepped into the hallway, the building groaned. Rain had started again, softer this time. We'll make it, Elara said. Leo glanced back one last time at the little room that had given him shelter, hope, and something more. Then they vanished into the shadows. The city never truly slept. Elara and Leo boarded a late-night bus heading uptown, sitting in the very back beneath flickering fluorescent lights. Leo wore a hoodie, hunched low. Elara leaned against the window, watching the rain blur the world. You sure she'll be there? Elara asked. Leo nodded. Ava's staying at her sister's, safer than her place downtown. They passed under bridges, neon lights casting shadows across their faces. Leo's phone buzzed once, an unknown number. He stared at it. Don't answer, Elara whispered. Not yet. Leo agreed, tucking it away. The air was thick with paranoia. At the next stop, a man in a trench coat boarded. His eyes swept the cabin. Leo stiffened. Stay calm, Elara whispered. We get off next stop, fast. The bus doors hissed open, and their plan began. They burst out of the bus and into a quiet side street. Elara grabbed Leo's hand and yanked him into an alley. Behind them, the man in the trench coat followed. He's tailing us, Leo said. Elara spotted a fire escape and scrambled up. This way. They climbed 3 stories and slipped through an unlocked window into an empty apartment under renovation. Plastic sheets, dusty floors, no lights. They crouched behind a kitchen island, hearts pounding. The man appeared on the rooftop across the alley. Scanning. Watching. Then he pulled out a phone and made a call. Leo whispered, He's reporting in. Elara met his eyes. You're not just a target, you're a threat to someone powerful. They stayed low until the man left. Only then did they breathe again. Hours later, they made it to Ava's temporary apartment. It was hidden behind a locksmith's shop, secure, quiet. Ava opened the door, eyes wide. Leah, she breathed, then hugged him tightly. You're alive. He pulled back. We don't have much time. Ava locked the door behind them. I've been compiling everything. The shell companies, bank transfers, your CFO, Harold Dunn, is laundering millions through false acquisitions. The board's compromised. Elara listened, stunned. You have proof? Leo asked. Ava pulled out a flash drive. Encrypted. Only opens with your thumbprint and mine. Leo stepped forward, hand trembling. Let's do it. They inserted it into her laptop. The screen lit up. and everything changed. As the data decrypted, page after page scrolled by, wire transfers, forged contracts, encrypted emails. Leo's face hardened. "He used my name to move billions," he said, "then tried to eliminate me so no one could trace it back." Ava nodded grimly. "You expose him, you bring down half the board, and likely end my own career." Elara stepped forward. "What happens if you don't?" Leo looked at her. "He keeps doing it. Maybe to someone else. Maybe worse." Ava leaned in. "You'll need a secure server to release this, and we'll need media attention. You need to control the story." Leo straightened. "Then we hit back, everything, all at once." A plan began to form. Quiet, dangerous, and powerful. The next day, Ava arranged a secret meeting with a trusted journalist. They met in an old library's locked archive room. Tall shelves, dusty air, a sense of sacred quiet. Leo paced as the journalist listened, eyes wide. "This is career suicide," the man whispered. "Or justice," Leo replied. He handed over a duplicate of the drive. The journalist pocketed it. "If this is real, your story will be global by morning." Elara asked, "Will it protect him?" "No," the journalist said. "But it'll make it harder to bury him quietly." As they left the archive, Ava whispered, "Now, we run interference. Until this hits." Leo's pulse quickened. Everything was in motion. They just had to survive the next 24 hours. Back in Ava's apartment as night fell again, Leo and Elara sat alone while Ava secured contacts. Elara broke the silence. "You don't owe me anything, you know." Leo looked at her. "You gave me shelter when I had nothing. No name, no help." She smiled faintly. "I gave you a floor and stale bread. You gave me a second chance." There was a pause, thick with what wasn't said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out her folded dream board. "When this is over, I'm going to help you build this. No conditions, no strings." Her eyes welled up. "You don't have to." "I want to," he said, voice firm. "Not out of guilt, out of respect." She nodded slowly. "Then, we fight together." Outside, the city was calm, but the storm was coming. At dawn, the story broke. Headlines blazed across every screen. CEO Leonardo Vance missing amid billion-dollar scandal. Whistleblower evidence surfaces, corporate empire in crisis. Elara and Leo sat on Ava's couch, phones lighting up with alerts. Ava burst in, breathless. "It's working. You're everywhere." Dunn is cornered. Leo watched the coverage with a grim calm. Now he's desperate. Elara scrolled her feed. Her bakery coworkers were sharing the story. "They're calling you a hero." Leo shook his head. "Not yet." Ava answered a call, then turned pale. "He's filed an injunction, trying to discredit the documents." Leo stood. "Then we moved to the board. Today." Elara blinked. "What?" Leo met her eyes. "I'm taking my seat back. In person." Ava pulled her car into an underground garage below the Vancitech Tower. The building loomed like a fortress above them, glass and steel gleaming under gray skies. Elara stared up. "You sure about this?" Leo straightened his jacket. "It's mine. I built it. He stole it." Inside, security was tight, but Ava's legal ID got them past checkpoints. When they reached the executive elevator, Leo paused. "If we don't come back down," he said, "you run, both of you." Elara stepped closer. "We're not going anywhere." As the elevator rose, silence took over. Floor numbers blinked by. 34, 35, 36. The doors opened to a boardroom buzzing with tension. And Harold Dunn was already waiting. "Leonardo," Harold said smoothly, standing at the head of the table. "Back from the dead." Leo stepped forward, gaze locked. "You tried to kill me, Harold." Harold chuckled. "That's a bold accusation, from a disgraced figurehead with no financial control." Ava dropped a folder on the table. These documents say otherwise. Board members leaned in, eyes scanning the files. Elara watched as confusion turned to alarm. Whispers filled the room. Leo took control. I built this company, I protected it, and you sold it piece by piece to ghosts for personal gain. One board member spoke. Is this true, Harold? Harold scoffed. All fabricated. He's delusional. Elara stepped up. That's rich, coming from someone who sent men to follow us. Harold's face twitched. He was losing. Harold's voice rose. This is slander. You'll be sued for every cent. Leo didn't flinch. Then do it, because every document has your name. Suddenly, a projector lit up behind him. Ava had prepared a backup. Emails. Contracts. Offshore transfers. Live. Live. Harold turned pale. Where did you get that? Ava smiled. Your assistant didn't clear your hard drives as well as you thought. Gasps echoed. The board chair, silent until now, stood. This company is under investigation immediately. Harold, your access is revoked. Harold lunged across the table. Security tackled him before he reached Leo. Elara froze, heart pounding. For a moment, there was only chaos. Papers flying, shouts filling the air. Then silence. Leo stood tall. Now we rebuild. After the chaos, Leo and Elara walked alone through the top floor. It was quiet now, almost peaceful. This floor used to scare me, Leo said. Meetings, mergers, masks. Elara looked around. Now it's just empty. He turned to her. I never told you everything. Her brow furrowed. Leo exhaled. Before all this, I bought your building. Elara's breath caught. What? I was going to tear it down. Redevelop the block. I never knew you lived there. Never knew your name. Her face darkened. You mean, you were the reason rent went up? He nodded, ashamed. Yes, until you saved me. The silence between them was sharp. Then Elara whispered, You were the storm outside my door, before you ever knocked on it. And she walked away. Leo stood alone, staring out at the city skyline. The victory felt hollow. He had exposed corruption, reclaimed his empire, but lost the only person who'd seen him without a title. Ava approached quietly. You okay? No, he admitted. I don't think I ever really was. She nodded. So fix what matters. I don't know if I can. She gave you shelter, Ava said gently. Maybe it's time you gave her something that actually means something. He turned away from the glass. Not money. No, Ava said, smiling. Something real. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he drafted plans, found papers, signed over deeds. At dawn, he stood at Elara's doorstep once more. This time, with nothing in his hands but her dream, made real. Elara opened the door slowly, still in her bakery apron, flour on her cheek. Her eyes landed on Leo. No suit. No guards. Just him, holding blueprints and a folder. I shouldn't have come without warning, he said quietly. She crossed her arms. You bought my home like it was a business move. You raised the rent, you planned to bulldoze it, while I was struggling to survive inside. I know, he said. And I was wrong. He held out the folder. The building is yours now. Signed it over this morning. And these? He lifted the rolled plans. Your bakery. Ground floor, rent-free, forever. Elara didn't move. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Leo continued. Just hoping to be part of something better. That you build. Tears welled, but her voice was steady. You can't undo it all, but this is a start. They sat on the apartment floor, papers spread between them. Leo explained each page, the deed transfer, renovation timelines, business license filings. I had the lawyers rush it. It's all legal, all yours, he said. Elara stared at the blueprint labeled, Hope Bread Company. My dad used to say, she whispered, we don't need much to rise, just warmth, time, and someone to believe in us. Leo smiled softly. Then let me be your oven. She laughed through a tear. Terrible metaphor. Best I've got, he said. They shared silence, not awkward, but healing. The kind that mends instead of fills. Then Elara looked him in the eye. If I do this, it's on my terms. Of course. No cameras, no headlines. Only bread, Leo promised. She nodded slowly. Something was changing. Later that week, demolition crews arrived, not to destroy, but to renew. The building's foundation was preserved, but every broken beam and moldy pipe was replaced. Leo kept his distance, watching from across the street. Elara wore a hard hat and directed workers with quiet authority. The neighborhood watched in awe. Word was spreading fast. Ava joined Leo on the sidewalk. She's a natural. She's stronger than anyone I've ever known, Leo said. You're not just giving her something, Ava replied. You're finally building with someone. Leo nodded, then turned to leave. This is her moment. But she didn't ask you to leave, Ava said. He paused. She deserves the choice, Ava added. Leo looked back one more time at Elara, radiant in steel-toed boots and a dusty apron, and waited. Opening day came fast. The smell of cinnamon and fresh yeast wafted through the neighborhood. The bakery, Hope Bread Company, stood gleaming, its pale yellow awning catching morning sun. A line of customers stretched down the block. Elara stood behind the counter, apron spotless, hands flour-dusted, heart pounding. She served the first customer, an elderly man who said, "Smells like home." Then she saw him, Leo, at the very end of the line, no entourage, no fanfare. He waited like everyone else. When he reached the counter, he smiled. "One loaf of hope, please." She handed him the warm bread. "On the house." He tilted his head. "I'd rather pay." "You already did," she said softly. And this time, she smiled first. The evening sun turned the bakery windows gold. Elara sat on a bench outside, wiping her hands on her apron. Leo joined her silently, breaking off a piece of the bread she'd given him. They watched children play in the street. Laughter. Music from a nearby open window. "This was never about saving me," she said. "It was about letting me rise." "You rose on your own," Leo replied. "I just stopped getting in the way." She leaned back. "You think you'll ever go back to your empire?" "I already am," he said. "But it looks different now. Smaller, cleaner, kinder." She looked at him, eyes gentle. "You're not the same man who stepped out of that car." He met her gaze. "You didn't just shelter me from the rain, you brought me out of the storm." And they sat there in golden silence. That night, the bakery lights dimmed. Elara locked up and turned the sign to closed. Leo waited outside, holding 2 warm pastries in a paper bag. "Walk with me?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. They wandered through their neighborhood, past the bakery, past the old rusted awning where they first met. The rain had started again. Gentle, soothing. Elara looked up. "Funny how it started with this." Leo offered her his coat. "We're not who we were then." "No," she said. "But I'm glad you got caught in the rain." He smiled. "Best storm of my life." They stopped at a street light, glowing warm in the mist. No more running. No more hiding. Just 2 people, quietly changed. And as they walked on, the city around them softened, like even it had learned something too. Weeks passed. The chaos faded, but the headlines didn't. CEO cleared of fraud, whistleblower triumphs. Vansitech rebuilds with integrity at the helm. From shelter to success, the woman behind the man's redemption. Elara avoided interviews. She wasn't interested in fame. The bakery was enough. Inside Hope Bread Company, morning sunlight spilled across shelves of fresh loaves. Children ran in after school, Neighbors gathered for warmth and coffee. The air always smelled of cinnamon and something gentler, dignity. Leo stopped by less often now. His presence wasn't needed, but it was always welcome. He'd sit quietly in the corner, laptop open, sipping her chamomile tea. They didn't talk about the past much anymore, because they were living something new now. One afternoon, Ilara found Leo outside the bakery, watching the crowd through the window. "You okay?" she asked, wiping her hands on her apron. He nodded. "Just thinking how close I came to never seeing this." She joined him, their reflections side by side in the glass. "You built this," he said. "We built this," she corrected. He smiled. "Still think I'm the storm." "Maybe," she smirked. "But you brought the rain that helped me grow." They stood in comfortable silence. Then Leo pulled something from his pocket, a simple key. "To the second location," he said. "I bought the space. It's yours if you want to expand." Ilara blinked. "You're serious?" "Only if you are." She took the key. "Let's rise again." The second location opened months later in a quieter neighborhood, a place that hadn't had fresh bread in years. Locals lined up not just for food, but for what it meant: opportunity, change, community. Ilara trained young staff, many of them teens who reminded her of herself. Scrappy, quiet, eyes full of things unsaid. She didn't preach. She taught. Leo watched from a distance most days, letting her lead, letting her shine. "She's got the gift," Ava said one afternoon, visiting the new storefront. "She had it before she met me," Leo replied. Ilara stood behind the counter, laughing with a young boy as she taught him how to knead dough. "She didn't need saving," Ava said. "No," Leo agreed. "She needed space to rise." At a private charity gala, Leo took the stage. No suit, no script, just his voice. "When I vanished, I thought I'd lost everything," he said. "Turns out, I found something better." He nodded to the back of the room, where Ilara stood in a simple black dress. She didn't ask for recognition. She didn't want cameras. She gave without knowing my name. The crowd quieted. "Because of her, we've funded a grant, the RISE initiative, to support women in underprivileged communities who want to build, create, own." Applause thundered. Leo stepped off stage and met Ilara's eyes. She didn't smile at the crowd, but she smiled at him. Not for what he gave, but for how he'd changed. That night, on a quiet rooftop, Leo and Ilara looked out at the city. Below them, lights sparkled. Somewhere far off, someone played a violin through an open window. "I used to think success was power," Leo said. "Boardrooms, numbers, acquisitions." "And now?" Ilara asked. He looked at her. "It's trust. It's building something with someone who won't leave when the rain starts." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "That sounds a lot like home." He nodded slowly. "You were my home before I even knew I was lost." They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. Connection lived in the quiet between them. And that silence said everything. Morning again. The bakery lights flipped on before sunrise. Ilara moved like clockwork, grinding beans, kneading dough, humming softly. Leo was already there, sleeves rolled up, apron on. "You're early," she said. "I don't mind the dough under my nails anymore," he grinned. She tossed him a hairnet. "Then you'd better get to shaping." Together, they worked in harmony. Bread rising. Coffee brewing. Hope multiplying. At the door, a sign hung. "We all rise here." Outside, a new customer approached, a girl in a hoodie, soaked from rain. Ilara opened the door with a knowing smile. "Come in," she said. "You're safe here." And just like that, the cycle began again, not with money, but with kindness. A shelter. A chance. A future. Rain fell once more. Not hard, not angry, just a steady rhythm like the city remembering something. Inside Hope Bread Company, Ilara arranged pastries on the counter. The bell above the door jingled. A woman stepped in, mid-30s, soaked coat, tired eyes, a little girl clutching her hand. Elara recognized the look. Exhaustion masked as strength. She leaned down and smiled at the girl. Pick anything you want. First one's free. The woman hesitated. We don't have much. You don't need much, Elara said. You need warmth, time, someone to believe in you. The girl chose a cinnamon roll the size of her face. Leo appeared with 2 hot teas. To stay? The woman's eyes welled. Please. And the bakery welcomed them, no questions asked. Because someone once opened a door in the rain. And now, it was her turn. The story spread quietly. Not headlines this time, just whispers, shared from one grateful hand to another. There's a place, they said. A bakery with warmth in the walls. A man who looks like he belongs on magazine covers but prefers an apron. A woman who knows what it means to start from nothing. Local papers began to call Elara the bread keeper. Not because she owned a bakery, but because she gave without asking why. She didn't correct them. She understood now. Her story wasn't just about struggle. It was about what you do when you finally have power. Not to take, but to give. She posted one sign above the oven that morning. No one leaves empty. And she meant it. Leo no longer hid behind money. He worked. He built. He listened. And the world noticed. Vancitech shifted. Fewer suits, more community grants, mentorship programs, and bakery-sponsored scholarships. During one investor meeting, a board member whispered, "You've changed." Leo replied, "No, I just remembered who I was supposed to be." They didn't understand. But Elara did. She saw it in how he handed out bread at the shelter each Friday, how he spoke to every employee by name, how he still took his tea without sugar. One morning, she found a note on the bakery counter in his handwriting. "I came to you in a storm. You taught me how to stand in the sun." She folded it carefully and placed it behind the register, right where the first night's candle used to sit. The neighborhood transformed. Empty storefronts now buzzed with life, coffee shops, bookstores, art spaces, all seeded from the same grant Elara had once been too poor to dream about. People asked her to speak at events, mentor, consult. She always said the same thing. "I don't build empires. I build places where people stop running." And yet, unknowingly, she had become the heart of one. On the bakery wall hung a framed photo, Elara on opening day, standing beside a drenched stranger with a loaf in his hand. No caption. No plaque. Just a reminder of what kindness, timing, and one decision could do. One storm, I know. One gesture. And the world changed. They never married. They never needed to. Some things don't wear rings. They wear roots. Leo traveled sometimes but always returned before closing. He never missed cleanup. He liked the ritual. Wiping flour. Locking the till. Turning off the lights. Elara would brew tea. They'd sit at the counter in silence. She once asked, "Do you regret how it all started?" He shook his head. "You saved me from more than a storm. You saved me from myself." She sipped slowly. We both rose. And that night, he placed a small carved wooden loaf on the windowsill, etched with one word. Home. No initials. No message. Just the truth. The rain came again. Not hard. Not cruel. Just familiar. Outside the bakery, a young man stood, soaked and shivering. A busted phone in his hand. A look in his eyes that screamed, "I've lost everything." Elara saw him through the window. She stepped outside, her apron dampening instantly. "You okay?" she asked gently. He shook his head. She nodded. "Come in. It's warm inside, no questions." He hesitated, then followed. Inside, Leo handed him a towel. A warm roll. A place to sit. Elara lit the lamp. Same spot. Dot. Same glow. The stranger looked around, dazed. "Why are you helping me?" Elara smiled softly. "Because once, someone did the same for me." Leo met her eyes. No more words were needed. Fade to black.